Hi guys, I'm Daddy Freeze, convener of the Free the Sheeple movement and leader of the Free Nation in Christ. I greet you and I bring glad tidings. I'm going to have what I like to refer to as a soft conversation, a bit biblical, but not deeply biblical, a bit more of a reflection on what's relevant in today's world for today's people. So if you're watching on TikTok, double click the screen. This is not a sermon, even though I might be referring to the Bible here and there. I am much more concerned about uh, I'm much more concerned about, how do I describe it? Talking to us and improving our world as people in general. So, like I said earlier on, this is indeed a conversation. Someone is saying, do give away. That's all you are looking for. Lazy generation. I want to ask you, what governs your thought processes? What governs your thought processes? Is it logic? Is it emotion? What exactly governs your thought processes? I always like to ask that from my people. How do you arrive at your thoughts? Is it fear? Is it logic? Is it something you have meticulously calculated? Is it programming? How? I was having a conversation the other day. Someone said logic normally. In Nigeria, I totally doubt it. And how do you derive your logic? Your logic is still born out of programming. And I'll explain to you why. Somebody the other day bought or built a big house in the village for his parents. And here's the problem I have with building big houses in the village for parents who are retired. In your mind, you are trying to give your parents a luxury life. I live in a 4-bedroom house. To keep this house clean, I have to pay somebody monthly. There was a time during COVID, we didn't have any maid, we didn't have any helpers. The house got so dirty. As in, the house got so dirty. The children will try and clean it, but how well can children really clean it? At the end of the day, I went to hire somebody that was charging me 10K that COVID time, 10K per day. So if I cleaned it 3 times a week, that would have been 30K a week, times 4 weeks a month, 120,000 naira. This is cleaning the house. Hey, think it's easy to clean house? In Nigeria, that is, Nigeria is dusty and we have a lot of dust and dirt. It's not like the UK where your road. I remember I went to the UK once and I bought a pair of white trainers and I was in the UK for 2 weeks and I wore the white trainers every day. I did not get dirty. As I reached Moritala Mohammed Airport, by the time I walked from the airport to the car, the shoe done dirty. Nigeria is a dirty place. I hope people understand. Let's not. It's not like we are yapping ourselves. I hope you understand that Nigeria is a dirty place, relatively. Hello. Hello. And some people say, oh, it's a Lagos thing. No. Ibadan is worse. Worse. If you build your house 2 miles from a river in Ibadan, you will not build toilets when you are building your house. I grew up in Ibadan, unless you are wealthy. Once you see river, all those houses will follow that river. Almost 1 mile from there, they know they build the house with toilets. You want put the river na your toilet. Maybe Cross River, maybe Akwa Ibom are naturally clean people. But Lagos, because of the volume of people, the government is really trying to keep it clean, but it's not easy. So, my question now is, you have two parents who are retired, who don't work, earn any money, who you are feeding and paying. Let me tell you, once parents pass 60, just know, say, to maintain them on a monthly basis, you need like 200K. Just for them to be alive. Because by the time they are 60, 70, they go down get BP, diabetes. Some of them go down get stroke, go, come back. Hello? So just maintaining them alive alone is a 100 to 200K a month. Just say you won't maintain them. That is aside from house and car, just keeping them alive. If your parents now did not work for the government, that is not food though, that's just medication, and just by the time you add food, you need like 300K a month. If you have two, if you have one, you need like 150, 200K. Let's talk. Someone said that if we paid for health insurance for my dad and it's 600K annually. Your dad, John, I doubt is hypertensive and diabetic. I'm not sure 600K a year will cover hypertension and diabetes. I am not sure. And any other thing, 600K a year? Just pray, say your papa no go sick, because that insurance company go run, leave you. Unless you are lucky. You know, some parents don't have hypertension and diabetes. But once your parents have hypertension and diabetes, and the complications that may follow or could follow, I'm not sure say any insurance way, Baba, they go tell you now the day where they go they give you that go and need an operation or something. That's when you know the insurance company. Baba, I don't deal with insurance company before for health reasons. They go give you that. Listen, hypertension and diabetes can be very cheap to treat. Can be very cheap because it's 2K. Now when you get complication, now the problem the many. And once parents don't reach one certain age, you have to ensure that they are eating right. It's very hard to get Nigerian parents to eat right. If they never swallow that eba too bowl, they know they do okay. Because of programming too. You've been eating like that all your... Now, you need to understand that we cannot import a previous culture. Our grandparents, I used to live in the bush. We eat pounded yam every day. Walk 3 miles to the market. Wake up early in the morning. Pound the yam they will eat. Go to the farm and walk. Eat eba at the farm. From the farm, they will go to the market. They know they get diabetes. Because as they chop, they burn. As they chop, they burn. John, your dad is obviously not in Lagos, or I don't even think he's in Port Harcourt or Abuja. In the village, you will get 600K. In Lagos, or Abuja, no insurance will give you 600K for old people. I don't try them before. Then let me tell you, when you carry them to the hospital, they will give them their two. You will realize at the end of the day, you spend probably 1 million or more at the end of the year. Because any day you get something way big, you see, when they insure you, they don't insure you 100% too. I don't deal on top HMO before, where I go hospital, where they say my bill pass the HMO, where I go bring money pay. Baba, leave all these things. Just pray, say you know, enter, you don't experience the HMO. Leave all they will tell you that. So wait till it happens. You will understand what I'm telling you. So let me continue to see how the mindset works. So your great grandparents lived on the farm. Your great grandparents, Gen Z, great, my great grandparents lived on the farm and lived off the earth. Their diet, they didn't have fridges. So their diet was controlled by what is in fruit in season. When there is corn season, they will drink pap, they will eat boiled corn, they will eat meals that revolve around corn. When cassava is in season, they will eat gari, they will eat meals that revolve around cassava. When it is the yam season, they will eat pounded yam, so they fed off the earth. Those days, apart from salt, there was no Maggi. So if you wanted your soup to be sweet, you use locust beans, you use crayfish to make your soup sweet, and you pour plenty of pepper. So they lived a very healthy life, no matter how much carbohydrates they eat. You see, the problem is carbohydrates are not bad for you, but are you burning the carbohydrates? That's the problem. Many of us eat carbs and don't burn the carbs. Someone says scent leaf. So they lived off the earth. Anything the earth produces, na their lunch. So the day the earth gives you now, cow meat or beef is not something your great grandparents used to eat. Because to slaughter a cow, you will need people to come together, and they don't slaughter cow. So, and once you slaughter the cow, if you don't eat the meat in 2-3 days, the meat will not be fresh again. So cow now something where they chop for party. What they ate regularly was goat, chicken, fish, and a lot of bushmeat. You growing up as a great grandfather, you'll probably eat bushmeat 4 times a week, fish twice a week, cow meat twice a year. You eat goat meat maybe 2 or 3 times a month. You probably eat dried fish. They always had an abundance of that. So these bush meats are healthy animals. They eat off the earth too. They eat grass, they eat roots, they eat fruits. Our great grandparents never used to have milk like that unless you were around the cattle rearing areas, or you had Fulani cattle rearers passing through your route regularly, and then they could sell you some milk. So they didn't drink a lot of milk unless you came from snail. Very good. Anything that is off the ground is what your great grandparents ate. So they ate that eba, freshly made by themselves, with soup made from the pepper gathered from their farms. with a piece of porcupine meat or grass cutter meat or something else to go with it. They had farms, and as they were growing, they were developing their farm. So I, for instance, would like to have like 10 sons from maybe 4 wives. So each of my sons will develop farmlands around me from the lands I've given them. In my old age, from the land I've given to my sons, when I'm too old to work, my sons will bring cassava, bring yam, bring food stuff for me to eat. That was the cycle. Yes, a lot of children would pass on, but then you had more illness resistant humans. If you look at your parents and your grandparents, you realize they are stronger than your children. I know people who would live for 60 years and not have malaria, and they lived inside mosquito bite them, they rub, and once in a while they'll get a small fever. They go drink agbo, they go do okay. But you see, as we evolved, our great-grandparents used logic. I'm inside this bush, what will I eat? There's lizard, there's snake, there's grass cutter. I'd rather eat the grass cutter because it has more meat. They ate what was available. But you see, by the time our grandparents and parents were born, they copycatted they aped what our great-grandparents used to do without having the logical benefits of it. I'll give you an example. My great-grandfather probably had 4 wives. Why? Because he needed many sons. He needed many sons. Why? So many sons can take care of his plantations. My father has 2 wives and 3 sons. What exactly for? What's the logic behind it? It's simple. He did what his parents and grandparents did. Whether it worked or not, I don't know who I'm working with right now. Whether it works or not, you are aping a previous generation, copycatting, photocopying, rank xeroxing, everything from their generation, you are infusing it into your generation. And you have 2 very important backings for it. One is religion and the other is tradition or culture. So your decisions are not yours. They are your religious and your cultural decisions. They are not your logical decisions. It sounds like logic, but the foundation for your logic is your culture and your religion. And when you go against culture and religion, you start getting afraid. Because parents will threaten their children and say, if you don't do it to me, God will punish you. Because the Bible says, honor your father and your mother. Then you are afraid, let me not dishonor my father and my mother. Let me do for my father and mother. You now do things, whether logic makes it make sense or not, you do it because it's what culture says. Culture says that at a time in your life, you have to take care of your father. Did you study the culture then? The fathers that they were taking care of gave their children land to work on. If you grew up, your father will give you land in his property for your house. You will live in your father's compound. So when your father gets too old to work, you take care of your father. That's logic. In Nigeria, you don't have that logic. Your parents go, they work, they make poor decisions, they end up broke in old age, and it's your duty to take care of them. They didn't give you anything apart from education. Apart from education. Let me ask you something. Mike Adenuga, after education, did he not give his children a house? After education, did he not buy a car for his children? The education we are talking about, the school where you go, now the same school my Kadenuga children go. Why aren't your parents like my Kadenuga? Why aren't your parents like Dangote, Otedola? Look at Otedola. Otedola's father was former governor. Raised Otedola well, put him through certain things. Otedola has gotten to a stage now, he's taking care of his father. My question is, it makes sense, but then it doesn't make sense because you are doing it because your next door neighbor is doing it. Are you doing it because it is logical? Someone said all fingers are not equal. Why is your own the shortest? Why is your own the shortest? Now, I understand some of your parents went through a lot of hardship. Some of them could barely eat. They gave birth to you and had to raise you by force. But did they have to give birth to 8 children? Your mom had no job. Your father lost his job in his 30s because of an accident. But your mother went on to have 8 children. Why? Can we hold the previous generation accountable for some of the mistakes? Nigeria is where it is today because we think with our emotions, not with our logic. Talk to me. Someone said, my parents never paid a dime towards my education, nothing from them. Now I have to sacrifice financially taking care of them. You have to take care of your parents, no doubt. It is your duty as a child to take care of your parents. Someone said, you are giving the excuse not to take care of their parents. If you have the means, pamper your parents in their old age. There is a blessing that follows it. I totally disagree. There is no blessing that follows you pampering your parents. It does not exist. It is man-made. The blessing in the Bible is when you take care of the poor around you. Let me give you an example. I am surrounded by poor people, people who are going through a lot. Will I leave these poor people and go and give my money to my father that I know can take care of himself because I want a blessing? Make it make sense. Mayor, you are thinking with your emotions. There is no blessing that follows pampering your parents in their old age. It is cooked up by religion and culture and tradition. Take care of your parents. I don't want to hear the word pamper unless you can afford it. There are many people around you that have not eaten. Why are you pampering your parents who did not take care of you? Because according to what the guy said, he said his parents did not educate him. He said, but he has to sacrifice. It's not sacrifice. You have to take care of your parents. If your parents don't have food to eat, it is your responsibility to feed them. If your parents have no house to live, it is your responsibility to house them. If your parents have no health insurance or have no means of taking care of themselves, it is your responsibility to. But buying a Mercedes-Benz for your parents, that's stretching it. And let me tell you why. It creates what you call entitlement. And that is one of the biggest problems, the bane of Nigeria's existence. Entitlement. You see, when you pamper people, you think you're going to get gratitude. What you are doing is you're creating enabling behavior. Of course, if your parents, let me tell you something, my own logic is if you are good to me, if you are nice to me, and you call me and you say you need money, I will send to you. But that you believe that money is your entitlement, we will draw a line and you come and I will make you. I can be very generous, and I can be very tight-fisted. The moment I see that you need it, and you are grateful and you are not entitled, you will get it. But the moment you make me feel like I owe you, problem has started. Because then you will not get nobody gets anything from me with force. So you can't ask anybody, you can't get anything from me with force. You have to explain to me, make me understand why you need it. You know, if a parent called me today and said, they are sick, they need medicine money, it's not a question. Take now. You call me and you say there is a party in the village, you want to wear cloth and go. You will have to explain to me why that I have to, even if the medicine money is 50,000 and the cloth money is 5,000. I will give you that 50,000 before I give you that 5,000. That 5,000, you write essay on why you need it. It is not a blessing to indulge, because when you indulge people, what you get is entitlement. Someone says we owe our parents and they deserve it. No, that's Nigerian mentality. When that abroad that you are living that is working, is this how people are taking care of their parents? Or their parents are the ones taking care of their children? Remember, I said something the other day. I have a white parent and I have a Nigerian parent. It is a world of difference. My mother's mentality and her family's mentality are a world apart from my father's mentality and his people's mentality. It's like the two of them came from two different planets. My mother will never take anything from you. Never. In fact, all of my mother's grandchildren are on monthly allowance from my mother. My mother does not own any property that she used her money to buy. My father owns several properties. Africans build properties, they don't build people. My mother can never go hungry till she dies, because people are her blocks, people are her houses. You don't understand. My mother did not build a single house from scratch that this is the house I built. It doesn't exist. My father, on the other hand, has land and houses. My mother has people. All my mother's children. If my mother coughs, all the children will start running around. But you'll be amazed that my mother that has all this loyalty will now not cough. In fact, it is when you cough that your mother will be sending. I said it the other day. I woke up one day and I saw 200K in my account. I had to call my mother from my mother. I said, what is this for? She said, that the piano that my son is using is not good. I should go and buy another one. Went out, the piano was 500,000. The keyboard. I said, Mommy, it's 500,000. No, I've paid for it. She said, don't worry, I owe you the balance. That's the kind of mother I have. And when I go abroad to visit my mother's cousins and brother, and that's how they all are with their children. When their children are leaving home, they give them a house. After educating them, is it that they give them a plot of land and they help them build it, or they buy them a flat? I don't know, my mother has like 20 siblings and cousins, and they all have that same life. All of them. But in Nigeria, it's the other way around. All my father's family, they all would sit down and fold their leg, waiting for their children to bring something for them. And you see, the difference between me and you is you have my father on two sides. So you think it's normal. I, on the other hand, I'm like, why are these people different from these people? Why are these people different from these people? There's something fundamentally wrong. And the thing that is wrong is the mind. I remember when I was in university in 300 level, I went to meet my mom. I was like, I saved up some money. I saved up like 90,000 naira. I wanted to buy golf. That time golf don't come down, and I wanted to have a car in school. So I go meet my mama, say, my papa. As in, I'm not going to even cross road, go meet papa, say, I want to tell her, say, I want to buy a car. By the time he finishes talking, I'll be discouraged. So I just went to meet my mother. Of course, my mother was not going to say, "Oh, my child, you are in 300 level in university. Car is the next." My mother, of course, said no. I said, "No, I want to buy a car." And she saw that I was serious. So my mother followed me to go and look at the Golf. And my mother said, "No, this car is beat up. It looks nice. It looks like what you think you can handle. It looks like what you think you can handle, but no, you are not going to buy this Golf. Go and look for a better car." Apparently, my mother had this notion that Golf na problem car. We can no buy Golf car. No, sorry, my phone rang. I never rapture anybody today. So I went to look for another car. I went all the way to Cotonou. Eventually, I found a Peugeot 405. Very nice, very neat. It was red. I went to show my mom. It was about 300 and something K. My mother added the balance and paid the car for me. That was my first car. And I used that car from 1998 till 2004, about 6 years before the car finally broke down and could not be repaired again. I sold it. Like 4 years later, I was driving in traffic. I saw somebody driving. I said, "You feel repair this car, you try." So guess what? My mother, I was now using the car in school. I went to show my father that I bought car, just so that make it no be like say I no tell him. Then after that, my mother traveled and I had problem with my tires. I needed 4 Tokumbo tires. So I can't go price the Tokumbo tire. They said the tire 22K, 4, 8K. I can't go meet my papa say I need 8K for 4 tires. Make it please help me with the 4,000 naira, with the 8,000 naira. My papa talk story go up, he talk story come down, he talk story go left, he talk story come right. Long and short, he did not even tell me that it is 2K I have inside the 8,000. Take, my son. He tell me say he no get. Now I'm rapturing the first person. He came and said, "Ring light man." He say him no get. He not even say, "Okay, as you come, we'll take 1K as your fuel money or your transport money. Say make you go back." In talk and say in no get. She he not give me. I enter my car and I drove off. I waited for my mother to come back 1 month later. Before I go meet my mama, say, "Mommy, my car tire no good." My mama can count 8,000. Give me. Today, if I carry my 2 parents, my mother has never needed anything from me. It is that same one we not get 8K. Now I go still need today. And it has nothing to do with anything except the mentality. Am I connecting with you? Am I connecting with you? That is how we were taught to think. But you see, my problem with you guys is, can we start being realistic instead of emotional? I know people who, I have a friend whose father could not pay his school fees abroad. He's a very good friend of mine. He wanted to go and learn how to repair watches. And he wanted to go to Switzerland. His father took one property, sold it, and said, "My son, take. Go to Switzerland." Today, that young man is a millionaire. He will take care of his father. He's taking care of his father not because of culture, tradition, or religion, because his father actually invested in him. I have another friend. He went to uni in America, masters in Canada. He's carrying his father on his head and his mother on his arm and moving around with the two of them like that. My question is, he is not doing it for culture, tradition, or religion. He is doing it because he is repaying an investment. If your parents invested in you, sometimes some of you that went to school abroad, your parents drank Gary so that you can go to school abroad. Pamper them. Sometimes your mother, to pay your school fees, your mother sold in the market. Pamper her. But you see, when your mother did not do anything, now you still hustle. Then your mother is coming to read Bible for you and telling you honor your father and your mother. You need to start working on that particular part of the mindset. As I'm sitting down here, my mother invested. I tell my mother has no house that she built from ground up. The only thing she built was her children. Come in. What's that? Oh, father egg. I can eat egg. I ate that as that thing that I gave you people. That's all I ate. What's it called? Kilishi.
She said she's coming upstairs now. Soon, right?
Anybody that says you to still pamper them, don't listen to that person. You are creating for your children. You are teaching them that whether you do good or bad, you'll be taken care of. There was rice, but I don't like to eat carbohydrates. So I said they should give me anything that's not rice while I'm waiting for my meal to be ready. Let me tell you what I give my mom. Because I don't give my mother money because she doesn't need it. If you give my mother money, my mother will take it and go and give another person. So instead of my mother giving it to the other person, I'd rather go and give it to the person myself. What I do for my mom is I create memories. If my mother is around, I make sure I take her out. I make sure we hang out. I make sure she spends time with her children. That for me means the world to me, creating memories. But you see, when you have poverty mindset, I cannot tell you the things my mother has done for me. Let me tell you a story. And this has nothing to do with money, but my mother still spent money. In 2017, when my ex and I separated in 2014, my ex went away with some of my certificates. Or I believe she went away with some of my certificates. So in 2017, I could now not renew my Romanian passport because I needed some of those certificates. The only option they gave me was to go to Romania. 2017 was the heart of Free Nation against the church fight, when the church was fighting me left, right, and said I don't have any money. My mother bought me ticket in 2017 to go to Romania to go and get my papers. I'm sure most of your mothers would do that. My mother had a surgery in her hip, so she could not walk. So I went around the time my mother was there. So my mother was limping, taking me to the passport office, to the embassy, back and forth, to try to regularize my stuff and get my papers. Then they said that there was no way that I could do it in Cluj, that I have to go to Bucharest. Bucharest is 17 hours away. My mother carried me with fresh from operation. The doctors even advised her not to walk. My mother said, look, I have to help you get this. With pain in her leg, my mother followed me to Bucharest. Forget the money that she bought the ticket. Forget the money that she paid the trip. She followed me. Leave the money, oh. Now she still pay, oh. She can't use her 2 leg. Follow me, go down Bucharest. Go begin the press button until I was able to get that document. As in, someone say I'm a mommy's boy. Those are the kind of sacrifices my mother made. If you ask me, I should mention one sacrifice my father made. This is how I'll be thinking. This is how I'll be thinking. I still did not get that document that year. I had to come back the next year. The next year, my mother was there with me again. 2 years back to back. Before I could finally get my papers. And that same mother that has done everything to make my life comfortable and good will never ask me for anything. Someone said your father is the poster dad of most African dads. I'm not saying my dad did not try. I'm saying my dad is like the regular dad. How do we remove the regular dad mentality? By not indulging it. By not saying, okay, I will pamper you because you are my father, whether you tried for me or not. No. By putting our foot down and teaching our children that you get what you deserve, not what culture and religion entitles you to. Someone said she didn't ask because she's not Nigerian. My mother has never asked me for anything before, ever. As in, let me tell you, as old as I am, in 2018, things were now easier for me. I could afford to buy my own ticket. I even went with some change. I started carrying like $1,000. I knew I would stay in my mother's house. Right? I woke up in the morning. I can never forget this. I woke up in the morning. I came in the night before, so my mom picked me up from the airport. So I was very tired. So me, when normally, they wake early. I can't arrive late. So I woke up around 11 o'clock. I just got up. My mother slept on the same bed with me. I just got up. I said, where's mommy? She has gone. Where did they go? They went somewhere. I just saw a note by the side of the bed. $1,000. $1,000. $100 notes. My mother was on the table. My mother wrote, she said, just in case you need to go out and do shopping, this is money that you should use. She put something on it, put paper on it and put it there. That's not the funny part. I did not spend that $1,000 because I carried the $1,000. I was in Romania for 2 weeks. Anytime I follow my mother to the shop, if I pick anything, my mother will still pay with a card. This was in 2018. 2018 is 6 years ago. My mother will still pay with a card. So I came home $1,000 richer. I go holiday, I buy shoe, I buy shirt, I buy things. I still come back with $1,000 because I don't get how to spend it. Because anytime I pick anything, I go to the counter. My mother is already waiting at the counter with a card. And things no too cost for Romania. You no go see Gucci, you see Tommy Hilfiger, you see Gap, but you don't see Gucci, Fendi, Ferragamo, you don't see all of those ones. Then we were now at the airport. My mother now gave me excess luggage to carry. She said, carry this luggage. I said, mommy, they will stress me. My mother said, no problem. That she has weighed it, that at worst it will be an extra 200 euros. My mother counted 200 euros and gave me, apart from the $1,000, she now gave me 200 euros. So I got to the airport and I told the people that, how far? They say, hey, it's not too much. They just say I should fly with it. So I now had the 200 euros because I did not spend it. I came to Nigeria. My mother now came to visit me one day. I now went to carry the 200 euros. I said, mommy, remember when I was coming, you gave me 200 euros for excess luggage that I did not need, because at the end of the day, I just crossed with the luggage like that. Mama said, yeah, where's the money? I said, take. I gave her the money. We're gisting, things happened. My mother forgot the money on the bed and went. I now came home, I now saw the $200. I said, 200 euro on the bed. I said, this is my mom, the money I gave. I now called my mom. I said, mommy, how far? You left the 200 euros. Say, maybe God just wants me to give it to you. Now, so I travel, come back with $1,000 and 200 euro. Where I no work for. That is the mentality of my. It's not like my mother has, but whatever she has, and she takes care of all of us like that. Let me tell you one. I was one of my sisters. So I needed to borrow some money from my mom to buy something. So after my sister came to me and said, when you borrow money from mom, do you really pay back? I said, yes, so. I don't like borrowing money from anybody. Yes. Close it. I don't like borrowing money from anybody and not paying back. My sister looked at me and laughed. Say, Now I realize, now only me, they pay my mommy back. I thought of it one day. And I said, why is my mother so different from my father and my father's people? I'll tell you another story. As a kid, I would go and we'll go to Romania to see my grandfather. And when we come, all the food we are going to eat, my grandfather will provide. Then my grandfather will take us shopping. Then he will still give my mother money. My grandfather was a retiree from his pension and his farm. The small money that he's able to gather, he will give my mother. Sorry, one of my batteries is about to buy, so make I just connect them down. Sorry, make una no vex, so I'm just trying to adjust for YouTube. YouTube was about to go off. My mom has 4 kids. So, one day, my mother now was quarreling her father that, look, you can't be giving me this money. You are a retiree. I should be the one that is taking care of you. My mother's father said it. May his soul rest in peace. He said, what I am doing for me, for you, make sure you do it for your children. Mentality. What I am doing for you, do it for your children. The day my mother followed me to collect my passport, I said, Mommy, thank you. I remember her wobbling that day on her. She was using a walking stick because of the surgery. My mother said, what I've done for you, just make sure you do it for all of your children. And I sat down, I thought about it, and I remembered the same words my grandfather said to my mother. Someone said, I'm my mother's first child. I think I'm the one my mother took care of the least. Financially, because I've always been independent. And what is my life? What's expensive in my life? Okay, I bought Tokumbo car when I was in uni, an air ticket. Have you forgotten that my mother sent 2 children abroad to school? 2 of my siblings went to school abroad. On my mother's bill. All of us, my mother bought all of us cars. All her children. She bought me my first car, bought my younger sister her first car. My immediate sister after that is a doctor, bought her to her first car. And then the last born inherited my mother's old car. My mother's last born was the only one that my mother did not buy a car. Yes, I'm my mother's only son. But my mother, I'm not the only one that my mother took care of me, probably the least. This one that I'm telling you that looks, if I tell you what my mother did for my sisters. So what am I trying to say in essence? What am I trying to teach you today? What have I been saying for 51 minutes? It is you need to start thinking like my mother thinks, not like my father and my father's people think. My mother never believes that I owe her anything. She believes I owe my children. Hear the difference in mentality. My father and his people believe that I owe him and I owe them is my responsibility, whether I like it or not. My mother, on the other hand, who is actually deserving of the pampering, does not believe that I owe her. Someone said fingers are not equal. Why is your own this one? Why is your own this one? If you say you are not this one that is Dangote, or this one that is Otedola, can you not be this one? Why must you be the lowest? Now, the way I'm talking about it looks like my mother was very rich. No, my mother sacrificed. Buying my mother a car, I know, buying me a car, I know what my mother had to sacrifice so that I can have a car. It's not that she had. Abroad parents sacrifice for their children. Nigerian parents use their children for sacrifice. That's the mentality difference. And I want to be like my mom. I've begun to train my mind to be like my mom. At least I should be able to buy my children a car. If I can't give them anything else, if you are leaving my house, I should be able to buy you a car. Bad as it bad. At least let me keep up my mother's legacy. I should be able to send you abroad to do your masters. Even if you don't go for your first degree abroad, I should be able to do it for you. It has nothing to, I don't have any issues with my dad though. I'm seeing a mindset, and it's like that with Nigerian parents. They believe you owe them. All Nigerian parents I meet, they will tell you, that is the when a rat grows old, it breastfeeds from his child. Something like that. And anytime they bring it to it, I say, okay, that's people's mentality. I will not breastfeed off my child. And I'm beginning to train my mind in such a way. Someone said Nigeria's economy makes it difficult for parents to do the same for the kids. I disagree. I disagree. You are in the economy and you have 6 children. It's not the economy, it's you. My grandfather had 2 children, my mother and her brother, only 2. All my mother's family in Romania, I don't have a cousin that there are 3. Is that 1 or 2? I don't have cousins that there are 3, let alone 4. All my cousins abroad, is it that 1 child or 2 children at most? I've not seen 3 children. Who created Nigeria's problem? Is it not the previous generation and the previous generation? I want to ask you, how did Nigeria get to where it got to? You will say our leaders. Who were the leaders? Is it not our parents that were in leadership? Those of your parents that were not governor, some of them were leaders in their grassroots or wherever it is. How well did they lead at that level? Someone said pointing fingers at external factors without looking inwards to correct. We always blame. We are blamers. We blame everybody except our mentality, except our traditions, except ourselves. I'm not saying all Nigerian traditions are bad. Some of them are actually very good. Some of them are better than foreign traditions. But my question is, how do we sift through to pick the progressive traditions, the progressive mindsets? And let me tell you, if you create a culture of dependency, expectation, and what is it called? Entitlement, you will continue to fund it. Now, let me take you to the other side of it. Let's forget about the money. Let's forget about all my mother did for me financially. The car, the trips. Let's forget about her even following me for my passport. Let's forget about all those things. And let us now talk about the toxicity of a Nigerian parent. I was not cut out for school. I did not like school. It pained my mother because my mother is a professor of law. She always believed that her firstborn would be a doctor. Both my parents shared that mentality. I'm not a doctor today, and you people know, unless there is doctor of talking. I remember when I was going through the phase in my life when I was confused. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I could do. And if I disobeyed my dad will remind me, say, that's why you are failing. Let's go back to, let's forget the money. Let's imagine that both my parents were poor and wretched and had nothing. I will go and meet, or me and my dad will have a quarrel over something. Maybe he wakes me up in the morning and says I should go to the mosque, and I tell him I'm not interested in religion. The quarrel starts. And he will say, that's why you are failing. My mother, on the other hand, no matter how I'm feeling, if I go and meet my mother and say, Mommy, I have failed, my mother say, shut up, you have not failed. You cannot fail. Oh, you are God's child, you cannot fail. You can do it. Oh yeah, let's go. I'm waiting for you. My mother, no matter what I go through in this life, if I call my mom and say, I'm not happy about something, my mom will say, okay, what do you need? How can we fix it? Don't worry. Be strong. My mom will begin quote Bible where she don't know. She go just join everything together, begin quote and say, you are strong, you are courageous. And that was how my grandmother was. And most of the people in my father's family, that's how they all are. As long as you not do waiting you want, they won't make you do. Shall not fail. Because if you fail, they are waiting for you. Maybe we told you. When they sit down and they table people's gossip like this, you will pray that you never offend them so they will not table your matter. What's this thing called? If you're watching on TikTok, double click the screen. People are back. So, when I'm saying that we have a fundamental problem in this part of the world with the way we think, I'm not making it up. You can't understand it because you have two Nigerian parents. So both your parents are going to continue thinking like Nigerians think. You can't get it. Unless you were raised by a parent who is not Nigerian, even Ghanaian, just ordinary Ghana, you will see the difference in mindset, let alone Europe. They think different from how we think. They don't make, they are more concerned, as in, I don't say it because I have an issue with my dad though. It's just what I went through growing up. Now let me tell you something. My mother does not believe I owe her anything. My mother has never sat down to tell me that I sent you to school, despite being the one that sent me to school. My mother has never called me to say, you are ungrateful, I bought you your first car. Never. Because she thinks of me being better, me being happy. Someone says, because I'm from a polygamous family. Oh, yes, I'm from a polygamous family. If I call my brother now, he will say the same thing he told that. My brother's mother is poor. In her poverty, she still tried to take care of her son, pass as my papa do. So make it make sense. Sabi boy says, Oga do give away. Leave talk. No be say you don't get one successful settlement for your career. This thing where you talk, you be like dandruff for winch head. You be like winch dandruff. Mambo, lórí burúkú. Tọ́n bá gbé pépà Rizla sílẹ̀, tọ́n bá gbé wọ̀ sílẹ̀, Rizla ó ní value jù ẹ lọ. Tọ́n lè fi Rizla roll igbó, kí wọ́n lè fi ẹ roll lórí burúkú. What can they use you and roll? Only sabi boy, what do you sabi? Get out of here, collect rapture. Eleribu. Can I continue? What I'm here to talk about, the things you do you do them because of logic or do you do them because of fear? Maybe if I was raised by two Nigerian parents, I would do certain things I do out of fear. But because I have an opinion to balance off, I am looking at both my parents. They are both my parents. They went to the same uni. But they think so differently. And I can only round it off to the fact that they were raised under different circumstances. I'm not saying my mother does not have a toxicity. Oh, my mother has her own. But it is nowhere compared to the toxicity of a Nigerian parent. You will get 2 Nigerian parents. You they try. And I'm not speaking about my father. I'm speaking about every Nigerian parent, except maybe Taste Bud's dad. That's the only Nigerian parent I've ever met in my life that is completely non-toxic. Does not have toxicity. He doesn't have as in, you go and meet Taste Bud's late father with a quarrel. He go begin laugh before you know it, everybody don't begin laugh. As in, they vex. There are some people that don't get angry. I don't think he has the capacity to get angry. So no matter how serious the situation is, he go begin to use and crack joke. So you will carry the matter, go come begin to look and see what. Apart from that, he's the only person I have seen. Every other Nigerian parent, maybe including me too, we are all toxic. Our parents are worse than us. Toxic. Entitled. Now, entitled be like menstrual pain. Some women not get them. Some get them small. Some will land in the hospital. Some parents' level of entitlement is different from one grade to the other. Someone said, my dad isn't toxic. He isn't perfect, but I will always choose him to be my dad. Me, I will not choose my dad. If they gave me dads to pick, Taste Bud's papa dig there, I no pick him. Adenuga dey there, I no pick him. No worry, my papa no go pick me as picking. The ones where he go pick you, I not sure say any parent go pick me as picking, except my mother. Now only my mother love me. But that one say, if I had the opportunity to pick it, I will now go to the mess. Now my papa, where I go pick? My papa sabi worry now. I go see papa way gentle, we no go give me stress. Or the one way get money, I go leave those ones. No. No. My mother, I will still pick her again. If I went to a shop, when I was buying my Mercedes, you customize, you pick the color, you pick the interior, you pick the wheels. If I were to spec a mother, I will spec my mother. If I were to spec a wife, I will spec Taste Buds. If I were to spec a father, I don't go spec my papa. Oh. No. My papa worry. Oh. So I'm not in that mentality. No, there are some things that could be changed. And I look at my dad and I look at my kids and I see that I have a lot of my dad's traits. So I'm working on myself so that my children too don't look at me in future and say, we will not pick you. So I say, what about yourself? That's what I'm working on. Because I know I have a lot of my dad's traits. Some of them are good. My father is a manly man. My father is those kind of men that if he tell you like this, nothing. My partner's a big beg woman. Me, on the other hand, I wish I had my father's mind. I don't get them. I don't get 2%. That's one of the greatest traits my father has, his mind and his confidence. I got a bit of it, but not all of it. That I wish I got. But you see that toxicity, that vex, that, I don't want that one. And it did my body. So I have to work. Because sometimes I look at my children and I see that they are closer to their mom than they are closer to me. And I try to realize that, okay, maybe because I grew up in Nigeria, so I have Nigerian mentality plenty. In Nigeria, things don't have to make sense. That's how we do it. Agree, finish. So I've come full circle back to where I wanted us to be and what I wanted us to talk about. And it is a very, very simple thing. I'm ending now. It is a very, very simple thing. Someone said children are usually closer to their mom. There's no law that says children should be closer to their mom. It's sometimes because the mother has inbuilt ability to hear the children's pain. Sometimes some people have fathers. I remember an ex I grew up with, she was closer to her father than her mom. My very first girlfriend, she was always her dad. She loved her dad to bits and pieces. Her dad always seemed to understand her, but her mom didn't. They always had issues with her mom. So sometimes it flips. Sometimes you find yourself closer to your dad. Sometimes when you are a problematic child, you find yourself closer to that parent that has your time. There will always be that one parent that says, okay, what do you want? Someone said, I'm my dad's only son. I swear to you, none of my, if you carry, I can call my younger brother now and say, but if you were to choose a father, will you choose my father? We say, no. And he's from a different mother. I'm not making it up. But if you ask him, will you choose your mother? He will say, yes, he will still choose his mother. I'm not sure, say, and my father has 3 sons. I'm not sure if they were, you ask them, say, okay, pick a father. In the next life you are coming, pick a father. I'm not sure, say, they will pick my papa. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I can try it. Make we put money down. Someone said, but my father can be someone's best father. I reject it because that means that person's father is very hard. Among my cousins, sometimes, growing up, a Nigerian father is very difficult. It's not easy. Even me, I'm difficult. All Nigerian fathers are difficult. I think it's the Nigerian factor. Those of you who have fathers that are not toxic, is either they grew abroad or they lived among people who think like abroad people. If you have a father that is not toxic in Nigeria, it's rare. It means either your father spent a lot of time abroad or your father surrounded himself with abroad people. And I know people whose fathers have several wives and who have a lot of children, but they are still very close to their dads. I know children where their papa they do runs, where they sabi their papa girlfriend. When we're growing up, we used to have a lot of guys like that where their papa get plenty girl, where their papa they toast their girlfriend self. Where they quarrel with their papa for house. Say, okay, you don't toast the old girls for street. At least this one on my own, why you not leave her for me? But they are still cool. Linda said, never criticize, just give advice, but allowed us to do our thing. You are very lucky. Someone said, my dad is too caring. I run from him. Someone said, I avoid my father because he's too soft. So everybody has a different, some of you might be your mom, but just know that African parents are toxic. It's part of their DNA. And because many of you have come to accept toxicity as normalcy, we don't know how to navigate waters and be better. All what we've talked about, I'm done, I'm ready to. All we've talked about today, it might seem like the conversation is around our parents. Meanwhile, the conversation is actually around us. how do you become a less toxic person to your children? How do you work with your children in such a way that you can understand them, but at the same time be firm enough with them? My mother was very firm. She didn't take nonsense from me or from anybody. How do we learn? Are we going to continue being afraid of culture and tradition? Are we going to continue being afraid of religion? Hey, the Bible says honor your father and your mother. The Bible says many things that does not concern us. And if your father was abusive, honor to an abusive parent is the beginning of entitlement. I'm not talking about our parents. Our parents are in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, some even 90s. They are lost cause. They could not fix Nigeria during their time, but you want to fix Nigeria during yours. What steps are you taking? Are you thinking logically, or are you still putting the same backbone of fear, the same foundation of phobos in Greek? Are you applying fear, the fear factor, to your thought processes, to your decision making? Or are you actually thinking? My mother tried to bend me to fit her reality. I didn't bend. My mother did not break me. If my mother had left me for only my father, he would have broken me. Where he's trying to bend me to fit what he wants me to be, he for don't break me. My mother tried bend. She said, I not agree bend. Okay, what are you useful for, this child? And my mother decided to work with what was available in me. Some of you are going to try to break your children in the process of bending them to suit you, when you should actually bend them. But when you see that they are not going again, your common sense and your logic and your wisdom should tell that if I push this child anymore, I will break them. And when you break a child, they're broken forever. Hard to fix. So I did not give you this message because I'm quarreling with my dad, or because I have issues with my dad, or because I think my mother is better than my father. No, I'm giving you this issue because of me. Is my child going to record a live video 20 years from now and say the same things I said about my dad about me? Yes, if I don't fix myself. Yes, if you don't fix yourself. Some of you are too in a hurry to be wives and husbands and fathers and mothers without actually understanding what it takes to raise a child. Some of you don't understand that taming a lion is easier than raising a child. Once you tame a lion, you get it right, you are good. Once you miss a child, it's a lifetime of problem and issues and sorrows. Are your children your accessories? They look good on you like my Rolex looks good on me. Is that what your children are for? Who are you to your kids? Who are you to your kids? When your kids have a question about religion, how do you answer the questions? My parents almost broke me trying to force me to be a doctor, directly and indirectly. My children, anything you want to do, if you like, you want to be a street sweeper, just make sure you have masters in street sweeping. Anything you want to do, I will encourage you. I just don't want you to be lazy about that thing you want to do. I don't know what's going to be a good career in the future. This thing that I'm doing, I'm making more money than the average doctor is by a wide margin. But will this thing I'm doing be what will be marketable 30 years from now, 20 years from now, when my children mature? Maybe it is one thing my children have as hidden talent that I'm going to try to cover up by forcing them to be a version of me. look at yourselves and tell you, stop making your children a version of you. You are not perfect. And if there's any issue I ever had with my father, it is that he tried to make me a version of him while he himself is imperfect. My mother never wanted me to be a version of her. She wanted me to be the best version of myself. Your children are not a sequel to you. Your children are not a version of you. Your children are a version of themselves. Instead of making them a poor version of you, make them a fantastic version of themselves. Because you are not perfect. Neither am I. Why do we force our imperfections down our parents' throats using culture, tradition, and religion? That's my message today. Get it or forget about it. God bless you.